Hello horror fans and welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos, your friendly neighbourhood fright fanatics and your go-to guide for all the terrifying tales that this world has to offer. What's going on guys? As always, I'll be your spirit guide Jack Finch as we once again head up to that horrifying house on the haunted hill, creep open the door to the Red Room and take a look at the top 5 Haunting of Hill House fan theories that will blow your mind. Roll the clip. Now, I hope I'm not harping on, but as some of you may well know, Mike Flanagan's latest Netflix masterpiece, The Haunting of Hill House, is perhaps my favourite conversation topic at the moment. If you haven't checked out our latest video on what makes Hill House so damn good, then make sure you take a look. We'll leave a link at the end of this video. Since it crept up on us and blew us all away, The Haunting of Hill House has resonated in the minds of horror fans the world over, and had us all scrambling over what the hell was actually going on in the Red Room and whether there was something more to the Crain family. Well, let's find out, shall we? Before we jump into that though, horror fans, you know how it is by now. If you're a fan of this video, The Haunting of Hill House, or just top 5 scary videos in general, then please be a dear and hit that thumbs up button, as well as that subscribe bell so you can stay up to date with our latest and greatest uploads. If you've got a suggestion for a future scary video that you just can't keep to yourself, then make sure to speak your mind in the comment section down below. On with the show. Kicking off at number 5, the Black Mold. In episode 7, Eulogy, following the incredibly tense Two Storms episode, we find Hugh tearing the house apart after discovering that it's riddled with a strange, inconsistent mold. Not any old mold either, of course. This is the Crain family. It's highly toxic black mold, pretty much a death sentence for anyone in the property business. While as the remaining episodes unfold, the black mold narrative kind of gets unresolved and we never truly find out its purpose as a device within the show. One theory suggests that the black mold is much more important than it may seem, and ultimately was the real downfall of the entire Crain family. You see, black mold can cause irreparable psychosis in the human brain, and on the surface it may have led to the Crain family hallucinating the haunting of Hill House. I mean, that kind of sits with the whole stranger than fiction narrative of the show and give us a real physical evidence of the paranormal happenings that take place, but I don't know, that's kind of a cop-out as far as I'm concerned. However, Reddit user Cyber Toaster goes one further and they suggest that the black mold is a completely supernatural entity in itself. Throughout the show, the house itself is referred to as a living being. The Red Room is its stomach, the walls and pipes are its skin and veins. So what if the black mold was Hill House's brain, its very DNA? An ancient monster that lingers far longer than the ghosts of Poppy and the Tall Man. It would explain away a lot of the show's supernatural phenomena and give practical meaning to Nell's and Olivia's dream, as well as Luke trying to set fire to the house to no avail. It's interesting, but I'm not sure if I'm entirely convinced. Well, what do you guys think? Coming in next at number 4, blue is the warmest colour. And no, not that film. We'll keep this PG-13. Let's talk about colour palettes for a moment. One thing that stuck with me after finishing the series was Mike Flanagan's incredible use of colour throughout each episode and how it perfectly managed to balance the subtle shifts through time, the past and the present, as well as alluding to a much more important purpose. In cinema, colour is an incredibly powerful form. It subconsciously suggests tone and emotion, giving life to a scene oftentimes before we've even realised its intention. If you look back through Hill House, you'll notice the vivid demonstration of two very important colours, red and blue. Although the spectrum may not be as obvious or deliberate in some instances, it's always there. The warm, vibrant tones of red, orange and yellow, often representing the comfort and warmth of childhood, and the cold, oblique shades of blue. However, all is not as it may seem, because as we know in the show, red is the enemy of the Crain family. It's what they're simultaneously running away from and also hurtling towards, the Red Room. It's the colour blue where the family finds their strength and make reparations, which is interesting because blue is often associated with psychic power and supernatural sensitivity. The colour blue is the Crain family's one weapon against Hill House, often manifesting itself around 3 particular characters, which leads us to our next point. Swinging in at number 3, the 3 sisters.
Why don't you listen?
I don't know.
Because I'm telling you.
I don't.
I'm trying to tell you.
I don't need to hear your
excuses.
I'm not making excuses. I saw.
Got you again. Sorry, it's a bad habit. I also had to put it in because one of the few scenes where we see Shirley, Theo and Nellie all together kind of take place there, which is interesting in itself. I don't want to read too much into it, but the real point is that the three sisters are perhaps the most important characters in the show, and the real reason why the Crain family ultimately saved themselves. In episode 3, Touch, we are subtly informed about the idea of psychic intuition, manifested most prominently with a young Theodora who gradually demonstrates the ability of psychometry, the ability to obtain information about a person or object by touch. And this is what makes up the bulk of this theory, the fact that Theo, Shirley and Nellie are all physical representations of the past, the present and the future. A common device in early horror literature which fits neatly with the theme and Flanagan's interpretation of Hill House and his admiration of Shirley Jackson's original work. Theo's manifestation is the most obvious of the bunch. She serves as an insight into the historical horrors of Hill House. Shirley's is perhaps more subtle. She is a mortician obsessed with the preservation of the dead and their living form. She's the only Crain child seen taking photos, preserving the present and living in the moment. And then we have Nellie, a child who lives her entire life being haunted by the ghost of her future self, and who ultimately leads the Crain family to their future resolution. Next up at number 2, the 5 stages of grief.
You didn't tell your sisters what you saw. Why not? Some things can't be told.
And this theory isn't really a theory at all anymore because it's pretty much all been confirmed as canon by Mike Flanagan himself. The show manages to deal with death, remorse and regret in an incredibly responsible way, and each episode manages to slowly give light to the truth, like a coffin being slowly lowered into a grave. But like with many things in The Haunting of Hill House, there's much more to it than first meets the eye, and it lies with the Crain family themselves. They all represent the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally, acceptance. Firstly, Steve, the oldest Crain sibling, represents denial, the first stage. He's constantly refusing to believe what actually happened at Hill House as a child, instead bolstering himself against the paranormal, actively trying to explain away the supernatural with logic and rational thought. Next, Shirley, who represents anger. One of the show's main plot points is Shirley's grudge against Steve, as she sees him as a sellout for divulging the family's secret into a best-selling novel. She's often the source of confrontation for the Crain siblings, even as a child. Theo represents the 3rd stage of grief, bargaining. One of Hill House's most intense scenes is Theo's monologue about not being able to feel anything and her bargaining with the universe to end her disconnection. Luke's is perhaps the most obvious, depression. He visibly deals with emotion in a very visceral way, and his history of addiction is his character's white whale throughout the show. Depression is what formed Luke as an adult, manifested from the horrors he witnessed as a child. And finally, Nell, who represents acceptance, the final stage of grief. In the Red Room, when confronting her siblings as a ghost, she explains to them, "I love you completely and you love me the same. That's all. The rest is confetti." Nell had come to terms with her own death, haunted throughout her own childhood, and she comforts her brothers and sisters to do the same. And finally, at our number 1 spot, the Red Room. Now here's something that actually may blow your mind. After the series has reached its final conclusion, we can look back with the realization that the Red Room presented itself to each child as a different space. For Luke, it was his treehouse. For Theo, it was her dancing room. For Nellie, it was the games room. But when the siblings finally confront the real Red Room, each of them are confronted with a vision that they have to escape. What's interesting in those final few scenes is that something in each dream is vividly red. Stephen's jumper, Luke's Converse shoes. But hold on to that thought, because it's in the final few scenes of Hill House that suggests our happy ending actually wasn't happy at all. At the finale, we see Luke surrounded by his family, proudly celebrating 2 years of sobriety, free from his heroin addiction after confronting his inner demons together with his siblings in the Red Room. But take a closer look, because that cake is vividly red. The show's creators have smirkingly hinted that this is true, but it's heartbreaking to imagine that not only did Hill House ultimately consume Nell Crain, it also managed to finally kill her twin, Luke. Starkly enough, this would play into Olivia Crane's ultimate goal of killing the twins and complete this theory. Originally, Mike Flanagan intended for the show to end on a more ambiguous note, with a scene of the surviving Crain family members gathered in front of a window that resembled the one seen in the Red Room. However, Flanagan ultimately found that this was a twist too cruel, so perhaps Luke's red cake was a subtler way to suggest the Crain family didn't have such a happy ending. And now I'm sad. Unfortunately folks, that's all we've got time for in today's video. Cheers for sticking around all the way to the end. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed it. If you're a fan of this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up and show us some love in the comment section down below. If you'd like to continue on with your horror binge, feel free to hit that playlist floating shortly above. As always, I've been your host Jack Finch, you've been watching top 5 scary videos, and until next time, you take it easy.